Part 3. After handing the intruders over to his subordinates to handle, Ains activated the monitor within the throne room and scrolled through Nazarik's data. The figure which most concerned him, their removing funds, had only shifted very slightly. That was because they had hardly activated any cash item traps. Thus, it could be counted as a very successful trawling exercise. Ains turned to Albedo, who was nervously awaiting Ains's opinion, and smiled broadly, although a skeletal face could not show any expressions, before praising her. Very well done. While the intruders were all weak, they were fairly skilled among the humans of this world. In addition, you eliminated them with barely any expenditures. It would seem I can entrust the task of defense to you in future. Thank you for your praise. Albedo looked visibly relieved as she bowed her head in gratitude. Then, Ains-sama, are there any problems with the time? It's fine. I've asked Pandora's actor. While the people on top think the workers are taking their time, they've decided to wait one day, or until there's some change in the ruins. After seeing that none of the workers had returned by dawn, the adventurers had flown into a panic, but Pandora's actor suggested that they wait another day and see. While they had already arranged that to leave the campsite and observe from further away in case of emergency. The word of an adamantite-ranked adventurer carried more weight than their previous plans. Then, may I occupy a bit of your precious time? In truth, I have a question to ask, Ains-sama. What is it, Albedo? A moment please. Alright, it's fine. Ains turned around after making a final check on Hamsuke and the lizard men through the monitor. What is this question? Yes. Quote. She looked around before speaking. This concerns what those fools said just now. How high is searching for the supreme beings on your list of priorities, Ains-sama? At the top. So long as it does not place the great underground tomb of Nazarik in danger, it will be our topmost priority. Ains answered without delay. I see. I understand. Then, I have a proposal, that you will allow me to put together a unit under me that will search for the supreme beings. What do you mean? Ains's tone had unconsciously grown stiff, because he realized the dark side lurking within his heart. Until this date, he had several opportunities to actively search for his friends. However, he had kept pushing those plans back because he lacked manpower, or had insufficient information. This was because he was afraid of scouring every corner of the world and finding nothing, so he could not make that decision. Rather than work hard just to confirm that he was alone, becoming a famous monster held more hope. Yes, the lies those fools told just now were of a very low grade and were instantly seen through. However, we might encounter information in future whose veracity cannot be easily determined. Therefore, I would like to form a team to verify the reliability of this information, and at the same time investigate the whereabouts of the supreme beings. After investigate in detail, I can report the results to you, Ains-sama. Ains caressed his chin with a bony hand. Is that so? He murmured to himself. He thought about his conversation with the workers, and what he felt was not anger, but emptiness. Wavering between hope and despair was truly a heart-wrenching thing. His own sentimentality aside, it would seem that as the group's leader, it was time for him to decide to advance, even if it was only by a small step. You do not need to do everything on your own, Albedo. I hope you will be able to continue administering Nazarik well. If you intend to gather information by heading outside, would Mare or Aura not be better choices? I hear there are dark elves in the outside world. It is as you say. However, there is one factor which makes me uneasy. Loss of control. For instance, if she caught wind of Peroncino-sama, Shaltia would surely abandon everything and do as she pleased. Similarly, if Oranmare learned of Book at Chigama, there is no telling what Oranmare will do. I see. Ains smiled bitterly as he thought of Shaltia. Indeed, I feel that is a possibility. In order to avoid that, I feel a team which is directly loyal to me would be more appropriate. So you will not go berserk when you learn about Tabula-san. Please be at ease. As the Guardian Overseer of Nazarick, I will not do so under any circumstances. I promise. I see. When it came to Albedo, a wise person who was the most skilled at the internal administration of Nazarick, the chances of her going out of control due to her emotions ought to be very low. While she was a little off-kilter from time to time, there had never been any problems with the running of Nazarick while Ains had been gone, and she was worthy of trust. Personally, I feel Demiurge would also be acceptable, but he has many other duties to cover. Having him bear the weighty task of gathering information about the other supreme beings in addition to those tasks would be somewhat burdensome. What you said also makes sense. Then how about dispatching Pandora's actor? I was about to mention that. If possible, I would like to ask you to assign me Pandora's actor as my adjutant, Ains-sama. I see. Having two of Nazarick's most intelligent people working together will reduce the chances of mistakes compared to just one person, but he still has his duties in the treasury. I will lend him to you when the need arises. Thank you, Ains-sama. May I make several other requests? Ains raised his chin, indicating that she should continue. I would like my subordinates for the Supreme Being Search team to be powerful. Of course, I will assign you a group of the highest-leveled vassals. Thank you, Ains-sama. In addition, I feel it would be very helpful if you could bestow upon an undead lieutenant handcrafted by yourself. That, I cannot approve. Indeed, the lieutenants I can make a level 90, but rather than mercenary NPCs, one of Ains's skills allowed him to use experience points to create undead beings, an Overlord Wiseman or a Grim Reaper Thanatos. Since he could only have one at a time, they were very powerful. However, this world was not like YGGDRASIL where large amounts of experience points were easy to come by, and so he wanted to avoid skills which consumed experience points. Yes, I'll pass on that. Albedo, you will be in charge of the team, your adjutant will be Pandora's actor, and the other team members will be monsters. Understood. There is also one more thing. I would like to keep this group secret and not let the other Guardians know about it. Why is that? Won't it be better to have the Guardians help? No. If news is carelessly leaked, the Guardians or the other creations of the Supreme Beings might ask us to bring them along in order to visually confirm the sightings. In that case, they might end up falling into a trap if that news was bait. My abilities are oriented towards defense, so I might be able to escape on my own, but it would be more difficult if I had to protect others as well. That makes sense. Very well, Albedo. We will proceed as you see fit. Thank you, Ains-sama. Albedo bowed deeply in thanks, and her long hair hung down, covering her face. That's fine. Then, I'll leave this to you. Please be at ease, Ains-sama. The secret unit executing your most important order will not disappoint you. Ains was puzzled. The phrasing of her reply seemed a little strange. Forget it, it's fine. Then let us select your subordinates. I won't touch the vassals already assigned to the various floors, but make new ones instead. How many level 80-odd monsters do you need? Let's start with 15. 15. That's a bit too. Halfway through, Ains shook his head. Searching for his past friends was an important task. He should not be considering the expense at all. No, that's fine. I understand. There is another thing I would like to ask. May I have command authority over Ruba Edo? Denied. Ains replied instantly. Rubedo was the single most powerful individual in Nazarick. Purely in terms of melee combat, she was stronger than Sebas, Cositus and Albedo. In all likelihood, even a fully equipped Ains could not beat her, and even Shaltir would be considered weak in comparison to her. The only people who can beat her are the ones from the 8th floor, and they'd have to use world-class items. No matter how strong she is, she probably wouldn't be able to fight one of them to a draw, but while the activation experiment was a success, I do not intend to mobilize it for the moment. I wish to ask you, why do you need so much fighting power? It embarrasses me to say it, but would you be willing to listen, Ains-sama? Go AEAD. Since this is a rare chance to do so, I wanted to put together the strongest possible team. Ha! Albedo's wish might have sounded like that of a child, but Ains keenly understood it, and he could not help laughing. The emotion was promptly suppressed, but ripples of mirth remained in its wake. Ains-sama. Upon seeing the distressed look on Albedo's face, Ains smiled congenially to her although his face did not move and replied, Sorry. No, that is quite interesting. So that's it. In that case, since she's your sister, I shall turn command authority over to you. Will you really permit that? Of course. Go assemble your dream team. For all we know, we might need to use that team's power in the future. Thank you very much, Ains-sama. Albedo bowed deeply, and so he could not see her face, but Ains imagined she would be smiling benignly as always, and so he turned his attention to the monitors once more. Just then, someone entered the throne room. It was Entama. She walked up to the throne, then genuflected before him and bowed her head. My apologies. What is it, Entama? Albedo's voice sounded very stiff. Entama replied with the yes, and continued answering from her kneeling position. Aura-sama and Mare-sama are due to set out, and so I have come to report it to you. Is that so? Raise your head. Entama replied with a clipped yes once more and then looked up. There's still time, so I will go send them off. Communicating with magic is far too boring. Entama, pardon me, but go inform the two of them. Understood. Entama rose and made to leave. Albedo watched her back as she went, then leaned over to Ains and asked, Ains-sama, are you not displeased? They should have sent a maid other than Entama. I will scold them later. Why do you say that? No, I simply felt that they should not have let you hear that rude girl's voice, Ains-sama. Oh, I don't mind. In fact, it was my suggestion that Entama take her weight. Entama. Yes. Is something the matter? Entama was just about to rush back when Ains held out his hand to stop her, indicating that she should answer him from her current location. What happened to the other parts? Were they well utilized? Yes. The head went to a silk hat. The arms were shared between the deadman struggles. Demiurge-sama took the skin. The other parts were fodder for Grant's children. I believe there was no wastage. Really now? Very good. A hunter's duty is to make good use of every bit of his kill. If all hunters did that, it would be called provision. You really are too kind. As expected of the Supreme One, you show kindness even to such filthy little thieves. Surely everyone in Nazarick would shed a tear if they heard what you just said, Ains-sama. Albedo's voice trembled with emotion as she spoke. Intuma's eyes were filled with a respect that transcended the norm. It's fine. That's just my personal opinion. It's not meant on to force you to be like me. WashOurWorldAudio.com. Although, I still feel that making full use of it is just common courtesy. Understood. I'm certain the others will make good use of theirs too. As he saw the two of them bowing deeply before him, Ains had a feeling like he had missed something somewhere, and all he could reply with was, Umu